think I just hit the button. It's been almost a month. Check, check. Does it work? Is it working? Hello. It is working. Welcome to another episode of Under Construction. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as the Admiral. We're starting early today. We're starting early because it's been 3 weeks since I did one of these. Give me a second. I need to put the link to it in the place where the watch party usually starts. And I have some things on the docket for today that I want to talk about. One of which is probably, I mean, it's spicy. I'm not gonna lie. It's spicy in the foamy community. You are welcome, anybody watching this now or later, to take guesses as to what that might be. But there we go. I'm just adjusting my screen here before we really get started. And of course, we got to get some time for people to filter in. I always find it interesting how VODs of streams, they just... Let's do that first. You linger for so long on the... Oh, we need to finish filling this in. You linger for so long on the... Oh, the stream will start soon sort of thing. I don't know. I hope it doesn't... I hope I'm not the only person that drives crazy. I hope. But, of course, we need to get started, so... Oops, wrong button. So, let's do our requisite game of not Tetris before we do. I was tempted to play this over my little hiatus, which was not intentional or really wanted, by the way. It's just so busy. I can talk about that later. Where the hell have you been is always a valid question. I'll always have an answer. But what the hell was I gonna say? Not Tetris. Whatever. Yeah, I was tempted to play this in between. And then I realized that if I, by some miracle, managed to beat one of my high scores, I'd have to explain myself. You know, you'd see it in the list, or I'd point to it in the list and be like, well, you know, off camera, I did a little mining off camera, and this is what happened. Now, I don't want to do that. I want... Oh, no. And it begins. I want everyone there for my triumphs. Or I want you all there for all of my triumphs. In not Tetris. And everywhere else. I'll be honest, I missed you guys. I missed everyone. I missed doing the streams. I missed talking to people in the chat, in the comments. You know, this is such an important part of my week, and I know I talk about it sometimes like, oh, I have to force myself to do it, because yeah, okay, I do, you know, I have to force myself to do it in the same way I have to force myself to get out of bed. It's like, oh, but the bed is comfortable, you know, doing nothing is really easy. But I do look forward to it in a way that sentiment doesn't capture. So I hope we get a good turnout tonight. I know it's Christmas break for the people. Oh man, for the people that are in grade school, and I'm counting high school in grade school. I'm not just talking about primary school. And for the people in college, for the people in school at all. For the rest of us schmucks that work for a living, hey Pat, we of course have the option. Oh, I had the option to take time off, but I didn't want to because I'm saving my PTO. Or we don't, like Pat, who is currently at work. Hi, Pat. I hope you don't miss anything. Don't let any planes crash while you're watching the stream. If you see anyone sus getting in a plane, stop them. Hey, TJ. Just kidding, you don't get paid enough for that. This is going... I wouldn't call it well, but I haven't totally lost control of the situation yet. I will soon. Have little doubt. I will soon. Okay. Thank goodness that's a line. I was about to say, please, please let that be a line. Okay, and we get another one. This is going to go over there. And we get two more. Okay, okay, I can't complain about that. I've got to focus on this. I've got plenty to say, plenty to talk about, but I'm gonna focus on this for now. I just feel I could care less who gets in what plane. There's a I know you work at a relatively small airport. There's a John Boyce documentary called Section 1, and it's about a football game first and foremost, but it's also about a man who crashes a plane into the stadium. And the fascinating thing about his flight and his sort of commandeering of a plane and flying around and everything like that, it's just like no one, like, it didn't register with anyone, is the astounding part, you know? Okay, okay, there we go. I think I've seen that one. I hope you have. It's a really, really good one. It's one of two, like, one part. Oh no, now I've lost control of the situation. One part things that I like to recommend to people. Um, that's the first one. Oh, okay, 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 okay. That's the first one. The second one is how the much more straightforwardly named how to score 10 points in the first inning and still lose. Because while the B story, if you can call it that, I'm losing it. Eh. No, 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 no. Oh, I thought I could force one down. Hey, Stellar. Um, talking about John Boyce. Oh, okay. We didn't do that, so we got to get to working on this. Let me just make sure everything's all copacetic. And we got to jump back into Trainz. Yeah, it doesn't have as good of a B story. It pretty much has no B story. For a sports documentary, that's not exactly unheard of. But you know, Stellar, if you don't know who John Boyce is, or if anybody watching this doesn't know who John Boyce is, I talk about him a bunch. I guess you'd call him like a sports writer. He makes innovative media, one might say. Um, okay, now I need to figure out how to finish filling this out. I think getting the street grid to a place where I am happy with it, or where it feels done, is important to me today. Uh, Now I don't know. Hmm. Could I have this thing strode all the way through here? Like just hang a right and then go this way towards the coast? That would be acceptable, I suppose. The fact that this isn't grade separated is weird. I think I was talking about grade separating some of these, but I can't remember which. In 4-track mainline that you've come through and you've done all this work with, I think having it grade separated is a very normal thing, but yeah, I don't know. Also, do I want to pull this back to here? I just noticed this goes past this intersection. Okay. We're going to get back into a very contemplative sort of state of mind now. I apologize if things get quiet, because I really do want to figure this out. We sort of have a triangular street grid going on, which is not normal. It's not good. It's not a grid. Um, because some things are aligned to this. Oh. Oh! It's underground. That's half the problem. Where did where did that one that I just cut back go? Oh, right, yeah, that one. Okay. So the problem is this thing is accidentally underground because I was adjusting it to get it over the river. Um, let's fix that because, oops. I was really curious how I managed that. I was wondering what I had missed about my own logic. That's what happens when you don't do this for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, guys. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. I hope everyone's looking forward to a good New Year. Hey, MK. Um, I am excited myself, but I need to get back in the headspace of doing this. And I think we need another road here. And this is 350 feet or so. So let's grab another ruler. Let's measure this out. 350 feet. I saw it come up on the screen for just a second. Now we're gonna be getting in the weeds a bunch. I don't think I'm gonna get to everything that I want to talk about. But you know, there are plenty of things on the table here. I am just gonna need to focus. If this was something where I did not have to think, you know, then I could chit chat till the cows come home. 355 or 365. If I move the ruler end, can I grab the ruler end? Oh, that's interesting. It's not perfectly aligned. The cows aren't coming home on their own, sadly. Well, that's a shame. They're supposed to. Let me get rid of this one. Oh, 355. Okay, so it has to be parallel to that. Let's just make it parallel to that. Let's just do that. I was always under the impression that the phrase, you know, till the cows come home, and by always I mean from fairly recently, because it's not something that I tend to think about, and it just sort of crossed my point of view, is that it's something that the cows would do. The you know, what's the word? The proverbial cows. They would come home on their own. It's a thing. But I don't know. I'm not a cow guy. Maybe Shelby would know. So we need to fill this out, and I need to figure out what this area is supposed to look like from, oh, excuse me, from a town point of view. Now, we have our gridded out area here. And so, yeah, okay. So we have this strip. They added a whole bunch of blocks for people that worked at the mills. And then these are sort of the same thing, but they only go up to this road. This road is an adjustment of this road. Hey, Mopac. I feel like the under construction stream being not during your work is more a function of your work than an under construction stream, because I try to make these at the same time every week. I know it goes without saying, haven't done it in a while, but you know. Okay, there. I'm just gonna toss some of these grid lines because we don't need them all. And I am pretty happy with the way this is looking. I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out, especially the area over here. This area I'm not so proud of, but it's very straightforward. I don't know how I could sort of do it better. It's just sort of a question of how do I terminate this major road? Because is it ending here? Is this, you know, is it ending in town here? In which case, this should probably turn and run into the main intersection here instead of doing what it's doing right now. Is it continuing out of town? In which case, it should probably turn and go this way. this was, in my head, one of these situations where the state route sort of is a bit of a bypass and then it just terminates up against the main road. Or a main road outside of town. But this is definitely not outside of town. So, if anybody has an opinion based on what they know about our work on this area, you can, you can voice it. We either have it take a left and go into the town square, or we have it take a right and go to the sea. Um, because ending it here is just not a good option. It's not. Um, I'm liking the town square option more because it just feels more natural. Um, is Glory playing Minecraft in the other room? I just heard the enchantment sound. I heard the when you get levels. Yep, there we go. Um, hey Jebediah. Now the other thing is, I did want to make more of these blocks over here, and that's why we have these two long parallel roads. The only question is, how many do we do, and where do they end? Because we've talked about this was the center of South Bellington. Where is the center of Bellington proper? Who's pinging? Um, do something like a loop highway around the. It's a function of my work. The HVAC business has picked up. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine it's that time of year. I've been hesitant to call the boiler people to do like their annual inspection because I know they've got to be piss busy, and I might just wait until spring and be like, so this is what it was doing over the wintertime that was weird. Can you figure that out? As long as it keeps heating the house, I'm not complaining. All right, so I do have a boiler. Yeah, I do have a boiler. Um, it's kind of a misnomer because it's a hot water system and not a um, steam system that I use to heat my house. Um, That's no boiler explosion. Other stories. Uh, but it's not a furnace because a furnace is for air. And I had that explained to me by the boiler guy when he showed up, and I kept calling it a furnace. And he had to do well, actually, in the kindest way possible. The people that I work with to service the people that I have that service my heating system are actually a really great little organization, really great little company, and they really helped me out when it just kept breaking one season. Like I had them over here maybe once a month, maybe more often. Okay, so I'm thinking we just do the middle one here, and a loop highway around the town the town probably isn't big enough for that. I do like the idea of doing some sort of loop interstate or spur interstate or, associated highway when we get to Gilson City. And I might have to write that down somewhere. And speaking of writing things down, I did want to share with anyone that I have made a hair's breadth more progress on creating the archive for Iron Horseman stuff. If Ellis went out like the other foamy Ellis, that'd be pretty poetic. Yeah, I'm gonna get beamed by a door or whatever it was. Uh, I need to come up with what would I put on my gravestone if that's what happened. Careful what you wish for. Okay. So we're gonna extend this out. Okay, no, that's right. Yeah, this is parallel, or it's perpendicular to this road. Yeah, there we go.
What would you put on your tombstone?
Well, we're talking about what would I put on my tombstone in the event that I died in a boiler explosion?
Loving husband who was a farmer.
Yeah. Kaboom! Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Well, yeah, that's a good one.
God dang it.
The door hit me on the way out.
You try doing what he loves best.
Getting shot. Yes, Rico, kaboom. You know what? Let's extend both of these out to this road and then have one go all the way to this one. Is Lafayette laying in bed? Of course he is. What a lazy coconut.
Well, he was where I was.
Yeah, because he likes you. He loves his mom. Even if he loves me more.
I'm gonna smack you with this big book over here.
You wouldn't risk damaging your thick book before you finish it.
You're right, because like it's already feeling.
Well, don't do that.
I'm not
Okay.
intentionally trying to move it.
I'm sitting here thinking, do I do 1? Do I do 2? Do I do 4? Do I have them go all the way to over here? What? What? Oh, okay. You were looking around like something was going on. I think I'll have this. Where is it? Where's this road right here? If we're talking about a circular highway sort of thing, this is a pretty important road. It ties into the main road here, and then it runs this way, crosses the river, which is important on its own, comes to here, and then I feel like I should make it go all the way to here then. Like it would tie in very neatly here. It would mark sort of the edge of town, right? I could do a little bit of terrain variation here. I think it deserves it. Um, like very, very subtle stuff. Um, if I just mess around with this a little bit, and we have, I think I could barely see the edge over here. Well, no, that's this. Oop, lag. I kind of want to just draw a terrain track from here to there, going up at a very slight angle, and then use the plateau tool to figure that out. Oh, babe, here he is.
Hello, lazy boy.
See, forum standard bump, something we could never confuse with track that we're actually trying to use. Simply grade tool. Oh yeah, you're right. Well, I want it to be a little less consistent than the grade tool. I want to have to work. I want to have to work for it. No, they can't see him. But then I'll be in the dark. There we go. What? I didn't say I didn't want to be. Just said I would be. Alright. Gloria and I have been reading a book series that they got me into called A Thorn of Thorns. Yeah. A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's the name of the series, yeah. And each of the books does have sort of a whimsical name. It's a very fantasy, world / series. It's very interesting. I am of the opinion that the entire plot of the first book happens because the villain is dumb, which bothers me, but not enough to make me stop reading it because the rest of it is quite good. It's written very well. It's not the kind of thing one would typically catch me reading. It also, I said it's not. That's beside the point. Also, I wanted you to catch me reading it because that was my reveal that I'd finished the first book and moved on to the second one. What? Just help him, or don't, or let him struggle. Because it's, when he gets all grumpy, it's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, it's not the kind of thing that one would typically catch me reading. It's a far cry from Isaac Bell, but it's very well written. And I can't really say no to that, especially when it gives me something, sort of like how the realist exists so that I had an excuse to talk to Gloria about the movies that we watched, which missed that show by the way. This I'm reading these books so that we have a common thing that we can yell at each other about who's the fairest of them all and who the protagonist should end up with, and you know why, who's good and who's bad, and everything like that. And of course Gloria is like 4 books ahead of me, so they know everything that I don't, and they keep warning me that I'm gonna hate this person or that person, or that it gets better in this respect, and I'm just sitting here like, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. The protagonist keeps getting kidnapped.
The first book was supposed to be like Beauty and the Beast-esque.
Well, yeah, I kept picturing him as the Beast. That's not even a joke. He was just the Beast in my head. But either way, like, still it'd be some Stockholm syndrome, which I know isn't technically a real thing, based on study X or Y, but it sure felt like real. It felt like it to me. All right, so I think we've done our worst with this land. It's incredibly subtle, the way that it's shaped, but I think that's pretty realistic. Okay, we're probably gonna end up doing more. We're gonna do some more with terrain and gradient and stuff in this area as we get closer to sort of leaving. Excuse me, because this has to go up, like I've said. I think I need to go back and look at the map, but this has to go up very subtly. But we have this river valley here. It's a complex area. But I want to have this. I mean, that's the thing with roads, is they like straights almost as much. They like straights. Somebody's gonna make fun of me for that. Uh, you can't say that. They like straightaways almost as much as railroads do. And honestly, roads just extremely homophobic. Uh, and this, by all rights, should be sort of a, what's the word? Sort of a long, broad curve. But on the other hand, we can just have this road go straight, and tie into this one. Hell, this gets canceled in other silly stories. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like me. What a predicament. What a bind I find myself in. Hmm. Now, I do want sort of commercial district running down this street here. Um, which would make sense because it leads up to the station and that sort of thing. And having a couple of streets behind it that are residential district, well, that also makes plenty of sense to me. Um, and I do want to have mills that go all the way to here. So that means we do need residences all the way to there, because people got to live. And in the era that we're sort of looking at for this town coming to be, people got to live near where they work. Um, People seem to think sometimes, and I don't want a blanket statement here, but I want to dispel the idea, or at least escape myself from the idea, that there was like all sorts of horse and cart traffic back in the day, other than, even in places that didn't have, what's the word? That didn't have an interurban system, a trolley network, etc. In the days before the electric trolley, um, really, people just walked a lot. uh, Horses are expensive to feed, and they take up space, and your average mill worker does not have a horse. Your average mill worker lives within, maybe not in sight of, but most certainly in earshot of the mill, uh, in my understanding, because they blow that whistle, and I know that that goes for a wide ways, but they blow that whistle, and then you go work. Um, so wherever you have this industry, a very close, a very well knit sort of residential district is bound to follow. Uh, Former average mill worker here. Did you live within earshot? Could you see your work from your home? Let's do this. And yeah, we don't have the density that would imply row houses here, but we do have plenty of space for relatively, relatively speaking, single family homes. Not single family zoning like we think about today, um, but pre-war single family zoning with houses stacked up all next to each other. Um, I think I'm going to split this block in half, going in this direction, um, because we just don't need. Oh, it was a 40-minute drive. That blows. Um, well, see, now average mill worker has a car. The equation's a little different. Okay, so let's make sure we can extend this guy out. You know what? Let's do Surveyor 2 for this. Let's extend this out in a dead straight line. Thank you. This way. And I would actually like to do something a little mindless today. I don't know what. In I think we should the work on this end of town. No one has voiced an opinion on what to do with this road yet, so I'm gonna make a call pretty soon. Uh, I'm gonna work on this end of town so that we can get the scenery up to here. Because if we're doing scenery, that's something that I can just sort of talk through. Um, oh, and you know what? If we have this road, uh, as the main road this way, it would give us an excuse to grade separate this bridge. So let's do that. Um, and we could also, if we want, we could cross the river later. Because right now I just have this sort of traveling off in this direction. Here's the thing: we don't have a road that comes from here. There's no road that crosses this relatively small river, which is kind of a weird issue. Like, you'd think that the connection between Pan Am and well, and thus points. What is this? Points east. We have a pretty continuous road that goes. Well, I guess it doesn't, because we don't have a bridge here. We have a ferry. Um, and even then, it's not a car ferry. It's just a ferry. Um, that goes from here and it goes under the drawbridge, which has got to be annoying, and then drops you out on this dirt road. And this dirt road winds through the trees. Maybe this should be gravel instead of dirt. Hey, Shortline. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Looking forward to everyone that's coming to the Big E, but let's see. Oh, this just goes down to this little house here. And then this goes this way. When do we meet up with the paved road? When do we meet up with the paved road? I'm glad you've been saving. I haven't really been able to. I could talk about why in a little bit. If I can get on something that doesn't take my brain power. Okay, so this road comes from here, which presumably comes from. Well, it probably connects to Upper Doe Cliff here, and we have a road here. Yeah, so that's probably gonna cross the tracks and go that way at some point. Um, we have this very steep incline here to get up from Lower Doe Cliff. And if you're avoiding this and not taking the ferry and going along the dirt road, then what I would assume you have to do is come down here to Mason's Landing, take a right onto this street, and then follow this road off into the woods. And so this road and this road come out here if you're going to Pan Am. Oh, and I didn't finish doing the texturing over here. Well, we'll come back to that, I suppose. I did want to say I think we're gonna take TJ's idea. We're gonna do the Yankee swap. Oh, you got to cross the river here. $25. Find something at the Big E, and then we'll do it at the PN in the club room the following evening. So Saturday evening, when we're all together there. After we've ordered a bunch of pizzas, we'll do the Yankee swap. Obviously, nobody has to worry about wrapping anything. It's just gonna be put them all on the table, and we'll just see what it is. It's gonna be a weird Yankee swap without being able to wrap anything, but I think that's just so much extra effort. We're not gonna have wrapping materials.
Well, if they offer you a bag at the Big E, just take the bag.
That's a good point. Yeah, if they offer you a bag at the Big E, just take the bag. Actually, we have a ton of just brown paper bags. We can just put everything in those as well, or tote bags or something to cover it. Oh, you don't have to number them.
No.
No, I mean the people get numbered. The gifts do not. You just did 2 of these. Okay, anyway, we make it to... What did I name this place? We make it to... I'm just tracing roads now. This is a... What did I name this place? The bushes have obscured the name. This is Constance. You make it to Constance, and if you are trying to get to Bellington, you probably did not come down to the waterside to follow this road here. You probably went up to... Let's see, where is the other road? This guy here. And it goes along here, and it goes along here, and then it goes up into the hills. And then it just goes this way where it meets the other interstate, somewhere up there. Or you came off here, you went over this gravel road by Elvira Grain and everything. You came down the hill. You went to Mason's Landing to cross the river. Or sorry, Mason Valley to cross the river. And then you went out this way. That's if you're taking the back way, though. I mean, there's probably another highway that comes this way. And I can probably look at the map and figure out where that might have been. But we could always have a road at a skew angle that looks like it's going to cross the river just out of frame here. And I think that's what we might do. Because here's my idea. Here's the idea. I didn't hear from Tony today, which is relevant, by the way. Let's add... Insert spline point here. Oh, and let's go back to Surveyor 1.0 before I get extraordinarily confused. Do this. That's not the right thing. That's not the right thing. Do this. Do... Okay, bring this along here. We're gonna need to make room for the tracks and the road. Oh, wrong thing. So, let's try to get the road parallel with the section of track that we have, instead of trying to fix it the other way. It doesn't really matter, but, you know, roads are much more forgiving when it comes to sharp corners or, you know, things of that nature. So, if I don't have this right on the money, it won't be the end of the world. And then we will just tuck this road in here like that. Sort of like this is tucked in here. And also we could have this cross and do a little loop road inside of the mill complex. Or at least that's probably one of the entrances. So have this continue straight across here. Or as straight as we can reasonably make it. Surveyor 1. Surveyor Classic. And then what I want is to straighten this out and get enough elevation to get over the railroad with clearance. Because this right now is a very large road crossing a very large main line, and honestly that's kind of unacceptable. So let's get our favorite ruler, Rick, no, not Rick, Ruth, the King of Crash, the Sultan of SWAT. What? What? Target layer invalid? Excuse me? What is that supposed to mean? Are these tracks in session layer? Oh! Son of a gun. How much of this is in session layer? Gonna freaking... Alright, that's in route layer. That's in route layer. It must just be these sections of... Nope, it's not. It's not. It's not. I was hopeful. I was hopeful. I put the idea out into the world, and now we're changing a million sets of track. Oh, I could do more than one at a time, huh? I could probably do more than one at a time in Surveyor 2.0. How far back does this go? Well, anyway, alright, let's talk about the car then. Because I am trying as I might to have 2 functional cars for the Big E. Because we're going to have like 10 people staying at this house. And we're going to need to get all those people to the show on both days. And that is like annoying on its own. Annoying is not the right word, but it is a logistical hurdle on its own. Also, hey DT. I'm not sure if I said hey to DT. He also said I was his favorite Trainz streamer, so he definitely deserves a hey. And yeah, so it is a logistical hurdle enough, right? To have to figure out 10 people from one place to another. 10 people would be a lot when I lived in a much larger house than this. Yeah, well, it's just for a weekend. We've done it before. Apollo, we had 10 people in the house. But anyway, it's going to be a logistics problem. So I'm trying to have 2 functional cars because I can seat 5 people in both of them. And so the smaller people will go in the wagon and the larger people will go in the 940. And we'll just go from there. But the issue is, if it snows, then we absolutely have to use those 2 cars and only those 2 cars. Like, we're not allowed to have a contingency plan. We're not allowed to go, oh, we've got more cars available, let's squeeze more people in them, right? No. Because if it snows, there will be a parking ban. And if there's a parking ban, it means I can only fit the cars, excuse me, that I can fit in the driveway. And I can fit 3 cars in the driveway, one in the garage, but the garage is blocked by Gloria's car, which is also in the driveway and not going anywhere fast. So, yeah. We are going to have potentially way more cars than we're going to need. Or we will have 2 cars and exactly 2 cars, and we're going to have to deal with that. So, I have been trying as I might to make sure those 2 cars are... Did I delete a spline point? What's going on? No, it's just over here. Somewhere. There it is. Make sure those cars are in a good enough shape to do this reliably, to get 10 people there and back along I-90 without any sort of hiccup. And it seemed to be fine for a little while, and then I had like multiple calamities in the span of a week that led to having both cars at Tony's at the same time. Not because both of them were necessarily broke. Well, actually, no, yeah, because both of them were broken. Because one of them had a busted timing belt, which thank goodness the B230 is an indestructible non-interference engine that like you can neglect it and have it start melting down and it will not be a problem. You know, oftentimes, for those who don't know, a timing belt failure in a car means the engine is destroyed. Like, fully, actually destroyed. But the timing belt went on that car. So I went, okay, well, this has got to go to the mechanic. And that was a whole ordeal, because I ended up sitting in a bar until like 11 o'clock at night waiting for the tow truck driver. Love AAA, don't drive without it. But when they get busy, they get busy. So that finally happened. Got the... Okay, this road is actually not going to stay like that. It's going to come off here. Also, Funky Road. Funky Kong. Timing belt died while I was on the way to the model railroad for a business meeting. Called up a fellow member and said, hey, I'm not going to make it. He said, hey, I'm like near you on the highway. You want me to just get off and pick you up? Absolute legend. He did that. So, oh, you know what? This is at much... Do I keep this on the map? Just right at the edge? I think I'm going to keep it right at the edge. Until we get closer to this here. There. Picked me up, took me there, dropped me back off at the car later. Sat in the bar, like I said. And so, gave that car to Tony, started driving the other one. And then the other one, like within 24 hours, the other one blew the head gasket. Not as, once again, I got incredibly lucky, and it did not make the, the forbidden milkshake, where it mixed with the coolant and caused all sorts of hell and havoc. It just blew out the side, and it just dumped oil everywhere. It dumped it all over the ground in the poor parking lot of the poor O'Reilly's Auto Parts that I pulled in, because I was like, something doesn't seem right. The car smells like oil. Everything smells like oil. What's going on? That's what was going on. So that happened, again, within 24 hours of sending the other car away for a timing belt. Got the other car back. Turns out that the car with the busted head gasket not only needed a head gasket, it also needed a head. Like, head for the engine. and I kept calling it the cylinder head. That's not really accurate because the cylinder heads are on the cylinders. Um, it needed a head, and Tony, to his credit, immediately found one and managed to get a hold of it. But it took many days and many hundreds of dollars uh, to repair that. And it was one of those things where we thought it was going to be all set. He got the head gasket and everything, and um, then he went to put everything back together, and that's when we realized, oh snap, the head has a busted bolt, and he can't screw it all back together. And he said, he called me and he was fuming. I could tell he was pissed. Uh, he's like, I've been fighting with this thing for like 2 hours, and I can't get somebody broke off a tap inside the bolt hole of the cylinder of the head, and I can't get it out. And he said, he was like, oh, I tried drilling around it, I tried doing this, I tried doing that. There's one for sale in a shop in New Bedford, and I can go and drive and get it right now and have it today, and this is how much it is. And it was like $500, just to buy the part, on top of all the work that had already been done and all the parts that had already gone into it and everything. And I was like, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it right. Just do it, like rip the band-aid off, just go buy the thing. Um, so it's exactly what he did. Oh shoot. What's going on here? Something happened with terrain tracks. I missed one, I guess. That's fine. We'll just do that. So yeah, that cost me a four-figure sum, which means that any money that I might have had for spending at the Big E, not that I typically spend money at the Big E. In fact, I try very hard not to. I just sometimes have a bad influence with me.
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. I wonder. Um, anyway, and that sometimes gets me to spend money. Let's see. I need a bridge. I need a yarn bridge for these. Uh, yarn bridge. This one. Why is it incompatible? Oh, because it's not the same. Yeah, so that's my whole shtick with the way that was. And by the way, I think my distributor has exploded again, because guess what? The 940 is back at Tony's. Because he did say, oh, I want to see it again to make sure that nothing's leaking or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. I'll send it back to you before I go to the Big E, so that you can be happy with it and I can be confident. And then it just decided that it wanted to go back. It decided, oh yeah, no, let's go. Um, so it's back. It's back over there. I was supposed to hear from him today, but he's got higher priorities. He has people that he gets in and out. Cars that he gets in and out of his shop on like within a day. He's a very efficient dude, and he's always busy as absolute get out. This is an interesting intersection. So I don't blame him for, when he's busy and doesn't get back to me right away. I'm sure there are other people ahead of me in line, and he knows I have two of these because he sees them very frequently. And he also knows that I uh, work from home and I live within walking distance of the grocery store, and my girlfriend works at the grocery store. So, like, I'm not going to die without a car. Uh, it's just oh shoot, it's just a little disappointing to not have one when I need to get somewhere. And I know how to use the bus. Like half the time I get to him on the bus. I hate when I have to do a ride share because it's like time sensitive or whatever. Uh, But yeah, anyway. Let's part of me wants to put like a little creek in that goes this way. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It might be a lot of it'll be a lot of extra effort, you know. Um so yeah, I would love to spend some money at the Big E even though I usually don't. Um but I don't think that's in the cards for me this year. And also uh I did just go to I do still I was gonna say I owe my dad money for the trip we took to Pittsburgh, but he refuses to tell me how much I owe him because he doesn't want me to pay him. And I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna give him a check, and then he's probably not gonna cash it. I should give him cash. Um. Anyway, and on top of that, of course, he springs on me, like the other day while we were at Christmas Eve party. He just turns to me out of the blue and goes, "Let's go see the Patriots. Uh, you know, let's go see them like next week." And I went, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they're playing the Jets in Foxborough. Tickets are pretty cheap. Let's, let's go there and see if there are tickets like available at the door after kickoff for cheap." And I see a short line. Thank you. Um, and I was just like, "Sure, yeah, I'm game. How much are tickets?" $150. Ugh, I don't want to miss this opportunity. I'll go to, I want to go to a football game with my dad. Uh, so yeah, but I want to go to another one. I want to go to a football game, comma, with my dad. Um, let's tie this in like this. Oh, I could add a slip lane here. That would be something. Um, the question is, what do we do over here? Do we put stuff over here? I mean, it's next to the rail yard. It's next to the rail yard. It's next to mills and factories and concrete plants and whatever. Like there would have been some development over here, right? Like I feel like there would be. And we're just scope creeping the hell out of this town. Oh man. Um hmm. Okay, now what? We need to figure out this end. We need to figure out this end and we need to figure out the other end. Those are the two most important things right now. We need to figure out the arrangement of Bellington, which I don't even know if we would have stuff on this side of the tracks. Uh, but as I noticed with a lot of these Granger towns, that doesn't necessarily happen. They sort of all build up on one side. Um, and we also need to figure out this. Um, and this is one of the nicest yards I've ever built. I really like it, even if it's small. It's how you use it. Um, okay. Let me think. Hmm. Okay. So, what do you say? For Railroad Online, you can't call a train simulator if you have to build the everything first. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that it's there's nothing wrong with this. It doesn't make it less of a simulator if you're also simulating the sort of business development side of it. I understand what you're getting at. I understand the point. Like I recognize your point. I don't think that it's necessarily an invalid point of view. I don't think I agree with it because yeah, maybe you can't call it an exclusively train driving simulator, but it has other, what of train simulator is the simulator part, the driving side, the economic side, the you know the sort of business development side of getting the contracts and everything like that, the uh, the construction, the civil engineering side. I mean, I've certainly seen things called simulator for less. Uh, Especially if we're going to include the very tongue-in-cheek ones that have sprung up over the last handful of years. Although, hold on, I'm gonna feel old for a second. Goat Simulator. When did it come out? Or Surgeon Simulator. Was that the first like big? Oh my God, 2014. It's almost 10 years old. Surgeon Simulator. Yeah, 2013. Okay, so we've had like very dubious entries in the simulator genre for quite some time, you might say. But I think that like I don't yeah, no, I sort of agree with your assessment, MK. Like you can decide not to call it a simulator for other reasons, but the having to build the railroad part of it is not one of them. Um, and TJ, I don't know. You don't like it's a totally separate game mode. I wouldn't call this part of the simulator aspect because this is not a simulator. This isn't. No, I don't. I think the route building of Trainz or any other, let's say, more typical simulator, uh, contributes at all to qualifying it as or disqualifying it from being called a simulator. And the reason I say that is because nothing's being simulated here. There isn't an attempt to simulate anything here. Like, I feel like the railroad building in, say, Rolling Line is a simulator more than this is, because at least it simulates building some, like I'm not sure if the word here I'm looking at for is simulacrum. No, I just want to know what the word is. Definition. Yeah, it's yeah, okay, I suppose it's a valid word here. uh this is not a simulacrum of anything in the real world, really. There are no constraints or anything like that. And Rolling Line, I feel like more so. The whole aspect of the game doesn't disqualify Trainz as being a train sim. No, but I also don't think it qualifies it as. I think that the what I suppose I'm getting at is the railroad building in Railroads Online contributes to its simulator nature uh, more than this contributes to the simulator nature of Trainz. Uh, and I feel like I could spiral this into a discussion about how Railroader handles its industries, because oh man, every game needs that. Every game needs carload freight that sits in an industry for 3 days. Um, and I know that is a random thing, but like things get compared a lot between um, between Railroads Online and Railroader and potential Century of Steam and Derail Valley and all of the other simulators on the market. I feel like Train Sim and Trainz don't really fall into that conversation because they are beasts of a different nature. Um, but the yeah, I agree, MK. The I hope that Studio 346, despite, I know that Heist isn't in love with Railroader and everything it brings to the table, which, rightfully so. It has flaws. And it certainly has flaws compared to his vision for what a game should be, or a train game should be. But uh, I hope they're taking notes. I'm sure they are. I have no doubt. It's a success, It is a success. People like it in a general sense. People are, obviously, they're giving it a fair treatment. Um, and yeah, no, I think the Railroader team should absolutely do the same thing. Um, I the thing is, right, between all of these railroading games, and I will narrow it down to games, games where there is a sense of progression, where there are stakes, where there is challenge, right? I don't think there's a challenge here. I don't feel challenged by anything in this beyond what I have determined needs to be, right? This isn't necessary. This is so unnecessary. This is immensely unnecessary. This massive street grid that someday I'm going to have to fill with houses. Uh, Most people don't do this, and I don't blame them, not even a little. We need, what, 625 feet for the middle of this? Uh, I don't feel challenged here. Well, maybe I feel challenged, but I don't feel like the game is challenging me. Uh, I don't feel like the program is challenging me, I should say. Derail Valley, Railroads Online, uh, Railroader. These are games more than they are simulators. Uh, these are these are things that present you with obstacles to overcome. And I know there are scenarios in this game, in Trainz, etc., etc., but that's beside my point. I feel like that's not what people flock to Trainz for. Um, it seems to have a game take notes from a game that doesn't exist yet. No, and that's fair. Yeah, it's a very fair point. Uh, but they're talking about this and that. It's the systems they want to implement, etc., etc. But no, I mean that is a good point. We will see what Century of Steam. We will see the size and the shape of Century of Steam when it hits the market, when we get to play more than just a very small demo. Uh, Not that the demo wasn't fun, but it is very clearly just that. Um, and you know, narrowing down the genre of train things to simulacrum games. Which, I say simulacrum games, I mean games that are trying to represent real world railroading. Not a puzzle game that has trains in it. Not uh like shoot, what's a good example here? Not Unrailed, right? Or Conduct Deluxe, where they are train games, but they're not railroad simulacrums. Um, so narrowing it down to that, I think it's great to see this market, right? I think it's great to see multiple competing products, and I have no doubt, and I have hope that these things, these competing products, will be cribbing from one another, and what people like, and what people want to see. Uh, I, I'm certain that Studio 346 is already doing this. I'm absolutely certain that with the way that Mark heaps praise on Derail Valley, that they're thinking about that. And yeah, it's just, you can look at each of these games or you can look at the 3 that are out. Let's limit it to that. Because Century of Steam, again, we don't know everything about it. We don't know the half of it. There are things that, you know, things that I've heard that are maybe rumors, or maybe things that the team hopes for but haven't, or that haven't become fully corporeal yet. Um, and yeah, train FPS. Um, yeah, and I hope that they you know, each of them does something well right now. Railroads Online is the only one of those 3 that has track building in it. And it doesn't cost anything, and it's a little jank, and it's, it is what it is, right? Train first person shooters. No, I'm okay with the I'm okay with the first person shooter as Trainz. Derail Valley is a horror game. Don't forget that. Uh uh Shoot. The hell was I saying? Railroads Online is the only one that has route building right now. That has route building as a component of gameplay. You know, or that has engineering a route, I should say. Because yes, Railroader, you do build out the route. Um, well, just let me die in a boiler explosion. Railroads Online is the only one, not just of the 3, but of virtually everything that exists on the market that has, by default, what I would call realistic industry simulation. You can set that thing up in Trainz, but the default industries, they don't do that. So, Brian, stop building the High Line. Bang. If only, thank goodness bridges don't cost any money yet. Um, anyway, is the only one that has that realistic simulation. Derail Valley has the best train simulation of anything on the market, I think. Certainly anything that I've messed with. I know that there are believers. There are true believers in things like Gary's mod. I know that the simulation in Railworks can be quite advanced. I know that there are things in Roblox that are, make it look like the next Gary's mod. And if you took a piece of all of these and you combined them into one game, you would take the foaming world by storm. Or take the foamy world by storm. There would be no two ways about it. Yeah, no, I've kind of been wanting to try out the Roblox Railroads Online clone, if you can call it that. I know that's not really fair to either Steam and Steel or Railroads Online, but you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean. I've been wanting to try that out. Honestly, it seems interesting. It seems well thought out, and well put together. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. How much further are we gonna go with this? Because do I want mills all the way to here? I think I want something tucked in here because this is sort of the arrangement that I believe Nashua, New Hampshire has, that I'm basing a lot of this off of. Okay. Matt says, I love how Roblox has gone from the baby game to a legit game platform. And I wish people gave it the goddamn respect it deserves because of that. And I say this as someone who has not touched it. I haven't. I don't have. I think I have like incredibly vague recollections of having Roblox on my old laptop and opening it once and not knowing what was going on. and then closing it. Uh, but it's like, you know, people don't give it any respect. It is come so far as its own platform, apparently. Um, anyway, man, I really want to launch into my thing. I really want to launch into my rant that I've had cooped up in my head for like 3 weeks. It's a PRR versus New York Central thing. I'm not gonna hold that back anymore. That's the teaser. That's the whole shtick. It is a completely unresearched PRR versus New York Central thing that is conjectural and biased and et cetera, et cetera. But it's some things that I want to air. Is that a multiple? Is that 350 feet from here? Um, PRR cooler, NYC more stylish debate done. Well, see, and I want to cast, and so now you got me started. I mean, I blame myself, but now you've got me started. Uh, I want to cast the memes aside. The PRR New York Central thing is, in, to me at least, it is more of a joke than a debate. I don't really indulge in the conversations about it unless people are saying something that I sort of objectively disagree with. If it's a subjective, like, oh, it's cooler, oh, it, was, it's, pure R good, New York Central bad, or some version thereof. I'm not, I'm not here for that. I'm not, like, I don't get anything out of that discussion. I don't feel like I can learn anything. Nobody can learn anything from that. Um, that doesn't mean people shouldn't have fun, but it's not what I'm getting at. It's not what I would like to get at. So if I am to launch into this, and I am hesitant to do so because I want to get these streets done here, and then I want to go. We still need to get this area done. Hey, Dragon. We still need to get this area done. Figure out what we're gonna put here, and then get this area done. I didn't miss a lot. I talked about my car troubles lately. Talked about the Big E, which is coming up soon. Uh, and then, I mean, the main event is looming on the horizon because I want to talk about the New York Central versus the PRR. From a pro Pensy point of view. So that there goes half my audience already, right? Um, the issue is, I came up with my talking points like 2.5 weeks ago after something was said in the Horseman, and I mulled them over for a while, and then Christmas happened. And I have been sort of not thinking about it since. So it's going to be much more stream of consciousness than it would have been otherwise. So I'm going to put on a few important caveats. Number one, this is stream of consciousness. This is not rehearsed. This isn't. Oh we were just doing sort of train simulacrum game discussion. Um, uh, do I want to curve this in like this? Uh, let's see. The interesting thing is I feel like this should continue to at least here. Um, as the sort of edge of town, and then have a couple roads that go a little bit and then end. Because this is kind of the last of the mills, right? I feel like this has to continue over here. I'm gonna go back and look at Nashua on the map again. Maps. I want to see how the urban area looks where the mills end. It does keep going. But I need to look at, in particular, where the mills end and where the... So that's where it crosses. There's the mill. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, there's more here than... I mean, how many people live in Nashua? Nashua, NH, population. Okay, they have 100,000 people. I'm not doing that. This is not a town of 100,000 people. Um, I don't really understand train companies' rivalry. I just like the big choo-choo train. I don't care if it's made by Penn Central or Santa Fe. Yeah, and I also think it's quite silly, which is sort of why I'm doing this. Like, if I was, how to put this? I would say if I was less serious about it, but that sort of undercuts what I just said. Uh, it's I okay. Let me continue my caveats. We'll get there. Number one is this is totally off the cuff. That there is no like serious rehearsal here. There's no research. There's no statistics to back any of what I'm saying up. So much of what I say could be completely wrong. Number two is I'm biased. We're all biased. We're human. I feel like it almost goes without saying, but I don't want anyone to think that, sort of like with caveat one, I don't want anyone to think that what I'm about to say is in any way law or objective, sort of. I mean, I feel like the things I'm going to say are objective, but my sentiment is not, more than likely. And number three is, and this is probably the most important one, the whole argument is stupid. It's a dumb argument if you're going to have it as an argument. It is meme to all hell. It is nonsense, really, because this is the most important part. How do you define better? What makes a railroad better? For most people, it's just I like it more. And it might be because you grew up with them, or you have certain models of it, or you had certain models of it growing up, or you're from the region, or it's just the thing you do with your friends. It's the sports team that you decided to root for, you know? Um, and hello, Jacob. Um, it's not it's not objective. It's not factual. It's not uh, something that you can necessarily get the get the hard numbers on and make them matter, right? Um, good wisdom. Never thought. Are there nearby coal mines, and does Tolbern have castles? We actually have one. It would have been colonized too late for that, but I haven't really set in stone the lore, the history, and we do have a castle. So, you know, this gotta mean something, right? Uh, we have a castle, and we do have a coal mine up here. A very small one, but we have a small colliery in Lionhead here. Um, so, we've got both. And I've never really codified the big... it's I've told a tale of very generic European into the New World style colonization, but clearly there was more going on here because there's this friggin' castle. Um, so you could like come up with a criteria for what makes a castle just some rich actor dude. Yeah, I was thinking about going that route with the Gillette castle and everything. Come up with a criteria for what makes a good railroad and then try to judge based on that. Like, it's not impossible, but it's much more work than any foamer wants to do for what is almost a casual conversation. And even I feel like calling it a casual conversation is overselling it, and I totally agree, MK. Like, you could sit down and figure out. Well, hell, we made a game about what makes the better locomotive. We actually made several games about that. And I don't think that it would be impossible to come up with a set of criteria. And criteria is something that I'm going to get to if I can God damn it, if I can remember what my original points were, because now again I don't remember any of them. I genuinely don't. I had points 2.5 weeks ago, um, and yeah, the yeah, and it's a lot of research. It would be a lot of research to figure that kind of thing out. Number one. Number two, the metrics that you pick will not be on their own free of bias, because the metrics that you pick and how you weight those metrics are in and of themselves things that are prone to bias, right? Um, like I've talked about this a couple of times. If, for example, we were to make gauge a callable stat in locomotive versus, uh, I have always said, oh, I think the smaller the gauge should get a point to offset all of the points that automatically, pretty much, are given to a much larger locomotive, just to give a smaller locomotive one more thing to punch up with. It's circular logic as to why you would do that. But the point is, I am, effectively cherry picking a stat. I'm giving a thing power because I feel like to not do so would be unfair. You're trying to create fairness. When you're trying to compare things one to one, you don't necessarily want to create fairness. For example, the power L1 stat. The power L1 stat is a power computation. More powerful locomotives are going to win that. That's it. Full stop, right? Is that fair? Yeah, it is. But it doesn't give every locomotive a fighting chance. So it's not fair in that respect. So if you were to do something like, and here's where I can launch into this, I suppose. And I have to do something where I don't think, because I'm not going to be able to build any roads doing this. Well, I'm going to try anyway. If you were to do something like, here's a few numbers that I think would be valid, that I think could be valid, I should say. Consistency of your dividend payment, gross revenue, ton miles, those are hard numbers. And you can do something like equipment roster as well. Those are hard numbers. Those are things that you could use to compare railroads. And doing exactly no cursory research, right? Doing zero. I am fairly certain that the Pennsylvania Railroad would win all four of those against the New York Central pretty darn handily. The New York Central is not known for classes of hundreds. The New York Central is not known for, well, the PRRs certainly love to bring out that dividend stat as something that they would, as something that they would tout, right? The PRR pulled in more revenue than I think any other railroad. It pulled in more revenue. It had a larger annual budget than the U.S. government at points in time. It had more ton miles than the New York Central by, if I recall, a substantial margin. They weren't competitors by the numbers so much. They were competitors because they shared a very important route. Yeah, operating ratio is a good one. They shared the New York to Chicago traffic, and that's why they butted heads. And so, people tend to look at, and I don't think it's an unfair assessment, people tend to look at what the two railroads looked like at the end of their lives, before the Penn Central merger. The PRR had what was effectively faux profitability because of their stake in the Norfolk and Western, because coal is bongo bucks. It's just the way it is. Um, and I don't like this at all. Can I look at a similar arrangement here and figure out how real life traffic planners handle all these skew intersections? Oh, they infilled the middle. They infilled the middle. They did not do the skew intersections. They tried their damnedest. I'm looking at a place in Providence right now. Yeah, they tried their damnedest to make sure things were coming in at right angles. Except for on the most main of roads. So this area in here, we've got to figure out how to do that. I don't want to turn this town into a traffic engineering nightmare. I really don't. Um, so yeah, if you look at the numbers at the end of their lives, it's not hard to agree with the idea that the New York Central had the upper hand. They were still profitable. They managed to hang on to profitability up until the Penn Central merger, and they did so by grabbing onto the most pertinent innovations of the day, that being things like diesel locomotives, um, uh, as quickly as they could, and that's why we have no New York Central steam around. Asterisk. Um, the Pennsylvania Railroad was pretty happy with itself, and they didn't want to get rid of things if they didn't feel like it. The management became extremely conservative. Uh, yeah, and it's like I don't disagree with the idea, and in fact, I would, let's say, wholeheartedly agree with the idea that the New York Central scrapping of steam was a necessary evil for the for the survival of the company. Okay, that's right. We need to put the layover yard here, so we need to get these roads out of here. I just remembered that, so that works out great because I need to actually. I would like to make this road substantially more perpendicular to this one. Um, uh, so yeah, that's sort of the first part of my argument. And again, I don't really necessarily feel like I am gunning to change anyone's mind here. I want to be wrong sometimes. I want to be wrong about some things. I don't think that my completely unresearched rant on PRR versus New York Central is is going to be automatically accurate or is qualified in any way, or like I said, it's me. I'm throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Um, let's make 400 feet from this side. 400 feet. But I think that if you look at the more important metrics over the lifetime of the Pennsylvania Railroad, you will see a good amount of what one might consider important numbers where the PRR takes the cake, sometimes quite handily. Um, and I feel like that gets drowned out by the discussion on what it looked like towards the end. It's like, yes, the Pennsylvania Railroad's management became too conservative, and in doing so, jeopardized their long-standing, uh, effectively successes. Their long-standing successes, their long-standing, what one would consider, perchance, a victory over the New York Central, right? In terms of statistics, in terms of quote unquote better railroad. Yes, Dragon? Dragon says, almost forgot Ellis. I bought Trainz 2019. Oh, congratulations! Welcome to the party. I mean, I'm not in 2019 anymore, but welcome to the party. It's a fairly modern and quite nice version of this beloved game. I don't like this. This road we're gonna have to do something about, because having it come in like this is just, it's gross. Um, I think we will have it do this. Let's see, is this 400 feet between this and this? Uh, 2022 is just 2019, but we're modern. Yeah, but the thing is, it is more modern. I think it's better in every conceivable way. Uh, except for probably price. I assume you got a fairly good deal. Um, getting 2019 right now. And okay, that's 360 feet. It's not incredible, but it's something. Um, it is a better optimized and more fleshed out game because I feel like they sort of left they sort of left 2019 behind as quickly as they could. I I mean I sure did, uh, because they figured out they could iterate on. I figured they could iterate on. They figured they could iterate on 2022 more easily, which is what they have done with Trainz Plus and everything. But that doesn't mean 2019 is a bad investment, especially if it was cheap. I mean, $12. I would buy 2019 for $12, and I already own 2019. So, you know, I think you made a good call. Um, okay, so we're gonna fill out this middle here with using parallel road or perpendicular roads. So anyway, so that's yeah, okay. That's point one of the completely unqualified PRR New York Central rant. That I think if you look at the metrics, where the railroads were, when the railroads stood tallest, the PRR stood taller. Um, the other, second item is, like I said, the PRR got far too conservative towards the end, and they gave up on innovating, which is a shame because the innovation that the PRR used and then implemented with their quote unquote standards, uh, that matters more than I feel like people give it credit for. People discount it because the PRR said we're the standard railroad of the world, and it's that arrogance that turns people off, and I totally get that. I totally get that. You deserve to be turned off by that kind of arrogance, and so would Farah. Um, can't play it though. PC too weak. Aw, we'll get new one where I can play Trainz. Oh, do I have some wisdom on building a PC? Honestly, I don't have any blanket wisdom. I am someone. I feel like I know too little, but also too much. Um, and by that I mean like I am at the place on the Dunning Kruger graph where I understand that I know nothing. Um, I don't know a single damn thing about modern computing, what's good, what's bad, AMD, Nvidia, whatever. All I have is I just get parts from friends of mine and I stick them in my computer and usually they work. Um, so my recommendation is make like a parts. I recommend building your own if you're making a desktop, right? I recommend building your own, doing heaps, do an appropriate amount of research, um, and talk to some people that have done it before. If you're in the Discord, there are people that'll help you in the workshop or gaming or whatever. Uh, it's it is easier than most people anticipate to build a PC. Um, also, thank you, Kevin, thank you for being someone that actually knows what they're talking about. But yeah, there are people that have built computers before. I have built computers out of spare parts. Um, stuff is mighty expensive. Yeah, get MK says get somewhat new parts. I'm gonna corollary that and say don't be afraid to get something secondhand if it's cheap. You know, uh, but you need to know what you're looking for, and that's why you get talk to some people. You could always go get like a half decent pre-built, but you're going to be spending more money doing that for the same computing power, and you won't really learn anything along the way. I think it's an opportunity, right? I feel like so many people who didn't grow up with having to deal with computer problems don't know the ins and outs, right? Um, uh, I feel like it's a valid, it is an opportunity to learn. Uh, anyway, I gotta figure this out. So, what is my second point with regard to the Pennsylvania Railroad? It has to do with that innovation that I was talking about. It has to do with the fact that in their, early to middle life time, the Pennsylvania Railroad was not just unafraid of jumping into a new technology, they would wholeheartedly embrace it and put it across the entire system faster than you could think. And we're talking about things that were downright revolutionary. We're talking about uh, we're talking about Westinghouse automatic air brakes, right? We're talking about uh, electronic signals, electrified signals, signals that you could read no matter the weather, signals that didn't mind the ice or the cold, signals that didn't cause problems um, for simple mechanical issues, that didn't lead to accidents and deaths because of small mechanical problems. Um, I I feel like we take for granted modern signaling. Electrification is another one, but I'll get to that when I get to that. We take for granted modern signaling, modern signal systems in a way that is in a way that we're uh what's the word? It's mundane, right? The signals that work are mundane. In the era of semaphores, they were not necessarily mundane. And a lot of people, a lot of companies hung on to semaphores for a really, really long time. Pumpkin spice apple cider got for Christmas takes off. It's awful. What are you doing with pumpkin spice and Christmas? That's a Halloween thing. Are we building a railroad versus rule sheet here? No, I hope not. No, no, I don't want to do that. You can do that. I'm not doing that. Um, I feel like everyone can tell at this point that I'm caveating the things that I say with the ways people usually dismiss them, and I understand why that happens. I understand why people, sort of brush it under the rug. Part of it is because of arrogance by the Pensie's part that just turns people off, where it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter. The innovation doesn't really matter. The people that are having the debate, the people that are arguing, they aren't arguing because they have anything to back it up. And that's sort of why I'm having this conversation. I don't think there aren't things that the New York Central would have in a bona fide, back and forth conversation, like, a bona fide back and forth, things that the PRR would not be able to answer for. There are certain things stylistically that the PRR would not be able to answer for. There is no answer to the question of the 20th Century Limited. It is possibly the world's most famous single train, right? It's up there with the Orient Express, the Trans-Siberian. I don't know if the Trans-Siberian Railway has any name trains, but whatever name train were to ply the Trans-Siberian Railway. It's up there with the Orient Express, um, and I don't know, whatever the hell else. Of its era, I can't really think of anything else. You all can sound off in the comments. The Flying Scotsman, maybe. Um, Also on the Discord, do they say if there will be a Tolbrin live stream? I always put the link for this in streaming and recording when I start, or at least I usually try to remember to. And if I don't, somebody else beats me to the punch. Um, the Gone, that's a good one. Uh, the State Express. Um, I don't remember what the Gone was. Oh, right, okay, that was the Australian one. Okay. Um, I was like, I've heard the name. I don't remember the location. The Polar Express. You know what? That's fair. Can't deny that one. Sorry, wrap it up, folks. The Pierre Marquette takes it for most famous train. Um, Most famous name train. Uh, anyway, the sorry, give me a minute here. That really threw me. That really threw me. It's the best answer I've had all night. Um, yeah, there are things that the New York Central can answer for. I'm not here to have a balanced debate. I'm here to give things their due, right? But I started off this by saying this is an argument, this is a pro PRR argument, right? So don't get mad at me when it's pro PRR. Anyway, where was I? The innovations, the electric signals, the electrification. The New York Central never did really much outside of what they absolutely had to in New York City. Um, the train phones, right? Cab signals. These are things that we sort of take for granted. I feel like they don't get brought up in these discussions, aside from the fact that discussions are, like I said, just complete memey, complete memery. Like there's no one trying to have a real discussion about this. I don't think. Um, and uh, and they just feel mundane. You know, there are things in our modern world that don't really signify anything. Nobody uses semaphores anymore unless you are on Raton Pass. Nobody, uh, you know, almost everyone has cab signals. Things are, I know everyone wants everyone to put up the dang wires, but railroad electrification is not a new and novel concept. Um, it's it's the sort of it's how do I say this? What am I looking for here? It is um it is I'm gonna keep saying it is. Whatever. It is what it is. Um okay. So I'm probably gonna need to run this up and over if we're gonna take this road to the other side, because like I said, we have to have our layover yard here. Um they're not having them in our spaces. Uh so yeah, the highs of the statistics, the highs of the statistics despite how they ended, the innovation despite how they ended, uh, and the, dare I say it, the uniformity of the railroad. Not every place had the electrification. Not every place had the cab signals or the train phones or the well, the electrified signals were up pretty much all over the PRO system. There weren't really any Tennessee semaphores left uh, after a very short amount of time. But the cranking out of hundreds of locomotives, which were pretty good for their day, there's a reason why a Pennsy K4 can still stand up in locomotive versus to something 20 years its senior. Or its junior, I suppose. 20 years more modern. the and the application of that onto a onto an industrial capacity for building and rebuilding locomotives. And we're talking about, I'm talking about the fact that the K4s and the L1s and the I1s, uh, you can't see it yet because you don't have fan rank. Please, there's a section in the rules about doing that. Once you do that, then then you'll be able to see everything, pretty much everything. Please, welcome to the server. Please read rules and index. That's the thing I'm supposed to say. Um, okay, so we've got to get to the edge of town here. This is going to go this way. Let's see. If it stays here, that means... Oh, we're going to need... Hold on. If it stays this way, we're going to need a tile there. We're going to need a tile there. Okay, and we'll just leave that as it is. Interesting way to do that. I set it up before I knew how to use bots. And I don't really like using bots. So we're just keeping it. You make a poll and people vote on you and get to talk to you for 24 hours and decide whether they like you or not. It's almost always goes through. It's very rare that someone's fan promotion does not. And then I give somebody the rank. Anyway. Yeah, so taking a half-decent design, spreading it across your system, and then using, taking the concept of things like interchangeable parts and scaling it up to entire boilers. So that if you had an engine that was down and out, instead of worrying about rebuilding it, you melt that sucker down, you make a new one. You'd throw a new boiler on it. You'd throw a new firebox on it. You don't need to worry about, and this is why Pennsylvania Railroad engines are so difficult to restore and operate, because they were designed to be disposable in a sense. And I know people are gonna, the immediate reaction to that for me is like a, ugh, because having locomotives that are disposable sort of undercuts the whole, well, they don't make them like they used to anymore, that everyone always likes to talk about with nostalgia for the era of Golden Age railroading and everything else. But the reason they don't make them like they used to anymore is because the world finally has the industrial capacity to do exactly what the PRR was doing back in those days, where you take your you take your design and you have this industrial might where you can just make new ones. It's cheaper to make new ones. It will always be cheaper to make new ones in a lot of, in the vast majority of cases. That's where we are today. It's not because, well, there's a reason they don't make them like they used to. And it's not necessarily because companies are greedy. It goes a little deeper than that. It's that when there is a profit motive, you are obligated to cut costs. And you can cut costs by using economies of scale in ways that, in ways that look very similar to planned obsolescence. But there was no planned obsolescence for the Pennsylvania Railroad. They weren't getting money out of anyone other than themselves. Every locomotive they purchased, every locomotive they built, was money out of their pocket. And they still determined it was cheaper to have standard designs that they could swap out all but the largest parts from, basically all but the frame. It was still cheaper to do that than it was to build more robust designs that would take more intensive work after a longer stretch of time. It was all about streamlining your process. If the thing you need to do, if you need to do two things, you need to build new boilers and also rebuild old boilers. If you can get away with only doing one of them, it's going to be cheaper. Because now you can have one production line, one workforce, one specialized sort of critical path of maintenance and construction. And that is why the PRR excelled. That is why they topped the charts. That is why I think they deserve to, they deserve the reverence more than the New York Central, if only just, if any of that really matters. Again, I think it all gets buried under the arrogance of the Pennsylvania Railroad and the claim to the standard railroad of the world, and the, you know, they're, shamelessly acting like they're better than everyone else. Because, and here's a life lesson for everyone, it doesn't matter if you are, if you act like it. And that goes both ways. That people are going to resent you for acting like it, whether or not you think you're right. And the Pennsylvania thought they were right. And the Pennsylvania might have been right. But that doesn't matter if all they did was act like a dick about it. Alright, that's going to be to the layover yard. Let's see. I think we still have more road to do over here, I feel like. No, I mean, I think this is it. I think this is the edge of town. I'm not going further than this over here. I think we could use a few more blocks over here, but then we're going to have the edge of town over here as well. I think we need to fill out this area in here. And I think we need to fill out this area over here with, whether it be sort of suburban blocks, something. Oh, my throat is getting very sore. So those are my three things. I think the PRR's highs were higher than the New York Centrals on a dollar value amount and a statistical amount. I think that the Pennsylvania Railroad embraced innovation over more of its lifetime in a holistic way than the New York Central did. And I think that the things that made the Pennsylvania Railroad the standard railroad of the world, so as they so said, genuinely do put it a cut above, because they were able to flex their industrial might, their power, in a way that effectively no other railroad did, at least in the United States. Do you have to make it your life story? Can you make it short? It doesn't need to be long at all. Some people just only do a couple sentences. If you go up in polls, you'll be able to see some previous ones. Oh, I need to lock a bunch of these polls. And you can get a feel for, let's see, let me pick out a good one here. Just a poll. Let's do, nope, not that one. Canadian Pacific Lad. Canadian Pacific Lad polled. It was posted on December 8th. Very short and sweet, but I think it's perfectly fine. Also, who is this? So it won't show me the whole thing. I request promotion to fan rank on December 5th. And another one on, oh, well, that one doesn't count. Yeah, so those two I think are good examples. It doesn't have to be wordy at all. If people don't feel like it's enough, they'll probably just ask you a couple questions. I like to ask questions if I feel like someone doesn't do what I consider sort of the bare minimum. Um, but that doesn't happen very often because I'm too damn busy. Let's see. We can use some of these larger blocks for things. Um, you're very welcome. I'm glad you're joining us. Okay. Do I finish this over here or do I go into the other side? I If I can get to a point where I feel like the road network of this town is done, I will be so happy. Like, so happy. And this doesn't need to be very long. It's a layover yard. If we can fit a locomotive and 8 cars into the layover yard, that's a big win. And this is going to be more than enough space for that. And so we're going to have to, I mean, let's see. We only need storage for what? 4 trains? 2 trains? Where's the timetable? It's going to be 2 trains a day. So what I think we want, who pinged me? What I think we want is maybe 4 storage tracks because extras, there's no kill like overkill, and a place to run around the train. Because if you think about it, you're going to have a locomotive come in here. You're going to have a locomotive come in here, end its run, come into here, come off the train. You know what? We can have it tuck in at the end. I need 8 coaches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Yeah, okay, we've got tons of room. Tons of room. I'm also going to go and look at the layover yard in Providence for the MBTA. Because these tracks are like twice as long as they need to be for these 8-car trains. These are quarter-mile long stretches of rail. And then some. So if I put a ruler down, 1,500, 1,600, 700 feet, this road right here is probably going to cross these tracks and keep going. And I'm probably going to have it just like around the roundhouse, because we do need to have another yard on the other side for everything that isn't, or for all the grain stuff, really. And in order to not, put a switch point on the road crossing, let's bring it out like this. And that looks absolutely horrendous, but that's not the point. I'm trying to build a layover yard, and I think the bottom line of it is I need a way to let locomotives out the back. And like I said, 4 tracks is going to be more than enough, and we can have plenty of space in between these tracks so that people can get at the passenger cars and wash them off. That is not good. That switch is bad. Let's try that again. That is a real Temeros switch right there. Is this a cheap yard? No, actually, I would say it's not. I would say that this is a yard that was built, maybe not too great expense. They didn't spare no expense. It's not Jurassic Park. But it is something that, this is not a rinky-dink freight yard. This is something that is for the passenger trains. It's something that they, that division of the company probably would have pushed to make as nice as reasonably possible, so that they could get in here and do all the things they need to do to these passenger cars. And because they wouldn't want anything holding up ops. right? They wouldn't want anything effing up the schedule. If a freight train is delayed, it's no big deal. If a passenger train is delayed, people get mad very fast. Um, so yeah, build to your heart's content. Well, it's more than that. It's I'm having civil engineering problems now. Let's see if I straighten that. How bad does this look? Atrocious. Awesome. Let's move this over. Let's move that back. And we'll have 2 tracks here. And this one will just be the runner, which is why it's so close to the main line. This one will just be the runner. Then these two will be, this one will be storage, this one will be storage, and then the one next to it will also be storage. What chapter are you on now, baby? What chapter are you on now? Oh wow. See, I had this like vain hope that maybe I could catch up with you at some point, or at least get to the back end of the book that you finish reading before this one, but that's not gonna happen.
No.
You're too into it.
No.
Anyway, let me move this up to here. Okay. That. You will, every time I build a layover yard or a passenger yard, it always looks like this. It always looks the same. I have such a exacting definition in my head. I also think I have this neat idea on how to make those 2 switches disappear to make this yard like remotely controlled, like an experiment, if it's not been done already. I mean, I will probably be using switch motors for a lot of stuff around here, but a lot of this would still be hand throws. There's just not a big reason for, like, the stuff on the main line is going to be switch motors, or it's going to be mechanically driven. But the blah, 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 blah. The stuff in the yards, there's really not a reason for that not to be hand throw, because you're gonna have enough people on a crew in this era to always have somebody on the ground flipping switches, you know. And on top of that, you're gonna have people that are working in the yard that can do that for you. Not that that's necessarily how that would be done, but it is a possibility. The other thing is, the thing to consider, right, is that mechanical switches are expensive. That's always the thing to consider, to come back to why the PRR had their standards. If you can cut costs down, if you don't have to pay yourself as much for this, that, or the other thing, if it's not getting in the way of your ops, why bother, right? But some of these are going to be mechanical, or switch motors, but probably mechanical that look like switch motors, because I can't actually create like an interlocking setup on the ground. Okay, so if we have, let's see, fouling point there or so. Okay, we've got plenty of room, because all I need is a stub for a locomotive. So like there, if we are to stretch this one out to, there, if we are to stretch this one out to here, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a level crossing or if that is going to be a, this is going to go up on an embankment to get over it. We'll see. I think it's going to be level because of how I need to snake it around this, or it's going to go up and it's going to be on a little bridge over the whole thing, like Selkirk Yard used to have a road over the middle of it. I loved that bridge, by the way. I used to go and hang out on that bridge. It was such a cool vantage point for Selkirk Yard. Um, if you look at historical aerials, and by historical I mean like less than 10 years ago. Hey, Mew. I was just talking about something near our old stomping grounds. If you go back 10 years and look at aerials of Selkirk Yard, you'll be able to see the bridge that goes over the whole thing. Um, like dead in the middle. You could see stuff working the hump from there. We're directly over the engine house. Uh, it was very cool, a little surreal, and extremely foamy. I loved it. I think one of my one of the first pictures that my mom took when we visited RPI was me standing on that bridge. Um, yeah, Mew does the greeting. We didn't assign him that duty. He just sort of assumed it, and it's great because I was tired of doing it. There were no sidewalks on that bridge. Ooh, that's a really good question. It was closed to car traffic uh, long before I ever did, got on there. Let me go to Google Earth and look. I will say, if that's referential to the kind of roads that I'm using, uh, if that's referential to the kind of roads I'm using, I will be changing them up later. Um, okay, there. Nope, nope, double wrong. Give me this, please. What the roads that I'm using now are pretty much entirely. I think it had one sidewalk, like on one side. I don't know. I'm gonna go look in a second. But yeah, no. For the folks that are looking at the roads that I'm using, it is very much a. I'm gonna come through and redo the roads themselves later. I'm using what I have to lay out just the street grid, just the bones of this town. Um, I am playing on 2022. I'm playing. I suppose I'm playing on Trainz Plus. So I have a couple of other features, but it's not that different than 2022. At least not right now. At least not the things that I'm doing. Uh, I should clarify that. Okay, so we have our layover yard. We also have a couple of storage tracks. Um, hmm. A couple of storage tracks. We could have a building that washes passenger cars over here too. Let's just do this. Let's bring a track out there for washing the cars. And we should also throw in, if we're doing that, we should also throw in a little car shop. Although we should probably figure out the building before we go any further with that. So let's look at car shop. Pioneer Valley car shop sign. Let's go into the search filter. Excuse me. GR2 store car shop. Long. Okay. No, that's too young. That's too recent. Shopping cart. Yes. um Derelict shopping cart. EBT carpentry shop. Okay, the problem with this is, well, A, you can't get a car inside of it, and B, there's no, uh, there's no, oh my god, oh my word. All right, I guess we're gonna do the JR ones. So let's do the little one then. Let's rail car washer. SAP washing plant. Really, I just want like a single washing plant, Bedford. Um, Yes, this is what I want. I don't know what that thing in the air is, but this is what I want. Okay. Come on, get. There. There. It looks like it's supposed to be up against another building, is the thing. Because you can't see this from this side. Something is up. Something is very much up. And I think what I'm going to have to do here is get the long car shop and put it alongside to hide that. Yeah, it's a car wash. Oh, and it doesn't have. Oh shoot. Ah, man. All right, I gotta get a different one. Does the inside snap to other regular track? Yeah, it should. I'll be able to do that later. Yeah, this is an old enough one that I'll just use this instead. Instead of a very long building, we'll just use a car washer. I don't know if this is probably dramatically out of era. But I don't really care. It looks old enough. Don't care. It looks old enough. And then yeah, this is just a dead end. So I was gonna have the two tracks come out at the other end. Oops. But I guess we're not doing that. Let's do that. And then we have to pull this off here and tuck that in there. Oops, I'm walking. Let's talk about something you can't do in real life. Walk by accident. Walk by mistake. Start walking without noticing. Start walking unintentionally. 0 to 10 on an animated polygon-looking person wiping a mop up and down. Yeah. I'm actually going to make a little tie-off track here. A word that I just made up. And this will be for... walking happens by mistake. Yeah, airports with moving sidewalks. Yeah, where it just spills you out and you have to start moving. This will be for if we have a locomotive working the working the car shop here. Oh, and I probably should put it off of this. Well, whatever. If we have a locomotive working the car shop here and shuffling stuff around, you show up to a fun run thinking it's a walk and you walk it first. That's unintentionally walking. I could test that, but sure. I feel like you definitely intended to walk it. It might not have been what the planners of the event intended, but I'm talking on one's own volition. Sometimes you don't plan to walk and then your car breaks down and then you have to walk. Okay, so we also have, and these are storage. I would kind of want to put another storage track over here that you can only get into from here, but I don't hate myself that much. What would really be chaotic? I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah. Well, you know me too well. What would really be chaotic is if I stuck an industry over here that you can only get to like this. Ooh, you know what we don't have? We don't have like a mail thing. It's something we've been missing at every town. We don't have like a side track for dropping off less than carload freight or that sort of thing. And let's see, where should we put it? Because do we want to put it on this end or do we want to put it on this end? I don't have a good track map to compare this to. Yeah, like a railway express agency building, or mail is so cool but is dying. Yeah, but it's cool though. Let's see, because we have a couple of options here. I don't really know how mail sidings tended to look in this era. I have no idea. What actually, yeah, it could almost use a small freight shed. Yeah, and I was thinking about that sort of thing too. We could actually slide this building down in one direction or another, and um, and food is a good one. Well, food, but we actually slide this building down in one direction or another, and uh, then have enough room for a couple of sidings for railway express cargoes, mail, that sort of thing. I mean, somewhere I have a picture of Middletown, New York. Um, Let me look up Middletown, New York, railroad thingy. I want a track map. Here's an overhead of the area. No, that's just the shops. Hold on, I'm figuring something out. It's okay. This is That's the shops. Where is the station? Oh, it's over there. Oh, it's over there. Okay, and there's another like Max of Latrobe with a 40 show large freight shed transfer. Would there be a TOFC terminal maybe? I wasn't planning on doing TOFC here. I feel like the pioneers of TOFC on Tolbrand are uh, the Volga Mountains. So, you know what? Can you, Matt? Would you mind throwing some of those maps in the Tolbrand Peninsula channel, please, so that I may look at them while I figure this out? The other thing we need is we need the set of crossovers to get out of here, and then we need the engine terminal and the main yard. I know that what I said. I know that what I said I wanted to do. Hello, Douglas. is get this area figured out. But now we're on the wrong side of the tracks for that. We're in a totally different neighborhood. But there is a long freight building. Around here, near the NYOW station. This is the book, by the way. This is the 5th and currently final book in this series.
Yeah, she actually is releasing another book, not for this series, but for a different series. She's releasing a book.
My sidekick is getting bent. Yeah, we have a well, it's not a channel, it's a thread, but it is for Tolbrin shenanigans. Not that it's very busy. Alright, so that's the layover yard. Okay, thinking. Am I building the entire U.S. rail network or something? No. Sadly, no. If I was going to do that, I would start with Rhode Island and not wherever this would be. I'm on a track mindset, and I want to break that because I want to finish this so I can do the scenery and get done with this side of the river. But I'm so distracted. This is probably several Rhode Islands. I'm not gonna lie. The Tolbrin Peninsula is probably several Rhode Islands. So I'm going to use this as a way to cross here. Tolbrin is so big it's going to make people weep. It certainly would make me weep if I lost it. So it's okay. All right, buddy. All right, MK, small state, not tiny state. It's how you use it. I'd like you to know. Or so I've heard. Okay. We need a road that goes this way. But there's no bridge over here either, so I don't know where this road would go. This road would come to the end of the yard and probably turn into dirt. But it would probably be cardinally aligned. So if I do this... Oh, there goes Lafayette. Bye, pup. I think I was... Yeah, no, okay, that's not happening. Yeah, we do need to figure out this side. Oh, you know what? What if we continued this? They can see how the workers use that. Yeah, I mean, the folks that... Because this is still the main freight yard for the... well, freight and passenger, I would imagine, for what little passenger service they have. This is the... You know what? That's a good point. We can only store 3 trains worth of cars here. Now I feel like that's underselling it, and we should squeeze another track in. But I shouldn't do that. We've got the runner here to get out, and you can store 3 whole train sets and then 2 in storage. I don't know. The awkward thing is there's not going to be a turntable over here, so it's going to be a long turnaround time. You get the engine pulled off, you run it back to here, and then you need clearance to pull out onto the station track and then cross everything to get over to the roundhouse. That's got to be annoying. Anyway. We also need to figure out where these industries are. That's another problem. But yeah, let's continue this road here because that feels like it would sort of theoretically, you know, yeah. Oh no, I have looked at the concrete slash cement potentially plant, and Mason has awoken. No, I haven't. I'm not doing that yet. Could head over to the Y. What Y? Oh well, yeah, all the way over here. Um, if you were, you could go and Y your train here, but I feel like that wouldn't be the way to do it. Unless you're a locomotive that's trying to get back to here. But in that case, you come off your train, um, you come all the way back to the old station here, or past the old station. You cross over, and then you got to run back along here through the yard, um, and into the engine house, which I haven't figured out how to tie that in yet. What is going on? Why is this road so long and useless? Okay, so this guy, we're gonna figure this out. So remember how I was talking about the people spring up around the thing? Um, this is the thing, right? This is your rail yard. There are people that would be showing up that work at this yard or this industry. I thought that had been a traditional Y by the old depot. No. I mean, it's kind of a mess. It is a full Y because you can Y your locomotive like this. Um, but it's just a ways. And let me look at what Matt sent. It's a Sanborn map. Oh, I love these things. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So that's it's almost exactly what I need. And now I've clicked off of it. Son of a gun. No, I want this one. So I'm going to show the stream this because I'm staring into it very intently. You have your main tracks here, and then you have another track here that feeds into not only the back of this platform, which is kind of an interesting thing. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the freight house spur, and then this guy, which I assume is just to stick cars while you're shunting. This is going to be something to model for sure, for sure. Turn the screen off. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. It is a full Y. Yeah, it's just a little annoying. Okay. Remember seeing that in Trainz 2009. Really? It's interesting. Okay. Oh, in like a map in Trainz 2009. Okay, sorry. Took me a second there. I don't know why it took me a second, but that was a lot to comprehend for some reason. Okay. The fifth lead track leads to a Y. The Y was owned by the Pennsylvania, but was the terminus of the short line. Interesting. Okay. So we have this road here, which you can't really get to from here, which is kind of annoying. You have to take a right, then take a left, then take a right. But that's what happens when you pave a big highway through a place. I also want to figure out what to fill in here, but probably some sort of factory complex. We might have a spur or two come off of this section here and do this. I mean, hell, this might be where the freaking, this might be where the cement plant ends up going, which would make it supremely annoying to get to for the aggregate that's coming off of here, where originally you would have just gone straight into it. Now you would have to pull into here, back up to here and then shove into here. Um, or and then pull into here. That's supremely annoying. Um, but you never know. I feel like it could there could be something over here, you know, something. So I'm going to take up this space. Or maybe a little shorty block that does this. That's probably it. It's official use, but I always used it from lesser trains departing. Found a picture of the Latrobe shed. Oh, it's a ramp track. Oh, that's really cool. I was thinking about modeling something like that. This stub is a ramp track. Look at those buffers, by the way. It's for if you just like yeeted the cars in at 50 miles an hour, they wouldn't hit the vehicles parked over here. And I love this. You can tell that was, that's for the short line or whatever if they had a passenger train. This is really cool. And they already have pulled one up in this picture. So the extra track here is gone. This is a great shot. I love this also trapezoidal building here. Wish we had more stuff like that. Okay. So, inspired to build a route. I was built in Tane, one baseboard route themed with 2006 Thomas. Thank you for being my inspiration. You're very welcome. Fifth track is for roll-on, roll-off stuff. I love that. Okay. So we have a road that's a continuation of this one. We're gonna break it the hell up because it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be consistent. It might not even go all the way through. But I think a block that's shaped like this, with this tucking in at some point. Okay. Do we want to just wing this? Because I might want to do that. I mean, I should measure stuff out, but I kind of just want to wing it. Let's see. Hmm. This is going to be pretty sparse, this area, I think. So if we were to build a road out like this, and then one like this, because this is breaking this convention right here. Plug this in like that. Okay. Then what do I want to do with this? I want to have a set of blocks here, or at least one or two really long blocks. Hmm. wanting to add a water feature becomes ever more tempting. Especially because it would allow us to follow something down from Appleton. I'm going to need the map. Bear with me 1 minute because I need to pull up the map now. Because I can't just start throwing down rivers if I don't know where they come from. So let me zoom in on Bellington. You know what? You can join me for this. Let me zoom in on Bellington. So this is... Nope, that's Mason's Landing. Okay, so we're supposed to meet the other river here. This is the Road River. We're supposed to meet that later. And this is supposed to have a tributary up there. We could have another one up here that we just sort of abandon later. And yeah, we probably... Oh, that's right. This highway doesn't cross here. We probably have another road that does this. But not... Yeah. Okay. So... What are we thinking? I feel like I need to find a way to break this up. Otherwise, I'm going to be making suburbia forever. I need to find a relevant location for this. I need to find something that works. Not Amazon. What do I want to look at? The issue is there isn't a lot that's, let's look at this. These are not the oldest suburbs in the world, but they're not new. Look how long these roads are that don't even go anywhere. It's interesting. So it's a thought. Look at overhead maps regarding putting an elevated line through residential area. Yeah, no, I'm not, I don't feel like I'm there yet. Oh, well, no, I did end up looking at that region when you mentioned it. I think I did pop over there. Or some vicinity, New Jersey. That Richmond Road West triggers me a bit. Yeah, it's a little weird. Hello, Reading. The issue is just when you look at all this, when you look at all the way roads connect, so much work is done to make things at right angles. So much. I keep forgetting what I did too. Don't feel bad, Mew. Will there be railroad? Will the Ellis Railroad Museum be on the route? Rascal. Okay. I know I want a road here-ish in this vicinity that goes this way. Yeah, it'll be the Ellis Railroad Museum sponsored by Monkey Bananas. Actually went there recently. I didn't know anybody went there. I assume it's just as sad as it looks on Google Street View. I invite you to tell me I'm wrong. I hear it up 1309 on display, yeah. This is reminding me of a neighborhood similar to the one a neighborhood that I lived in for a couple of years of my life. Let's see. Okay. Alice has gone through the stage of grief and now accepts monkey bananas as the true reason for Tolbrid. Yeah. Neuron activation. Oops, wrong thing. Everybody wants it. People go bananas, you might say. I think I'll just end this block here. I don't... Bananas? I went bananas once. Oh, boy. I'm watching the chat explode. Oh my god. And monkeys make me bananas. Oh my god. You people. Alright, let's find the middle here. I'm just trying to have a calm and peaceful night where I rant about the Pennsylvania railroad supremacy and build some roads. And here we are, doing the monkey bananas. Okay. Now what? Now what? I mean, do I just sort of continue this way, or... I am fairly listless with this, with this end of town. I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to connect it to the rest of town effectively. I mean, we have this sort of, like, main road feeling thoroughfare. I feel like we have too many main roads, you know? Too many roads are defining the direction of this town. We're at too much of a confluence. We have stuff coming in from down here, from over here, from over here, from over here, and that's our biggest issue. That's why we can't establish a half-decent grid that lasts for more than, you know, a dozen blocks. You weren't here for the important parts, okay? I can explain it to you later. I think there are in fact reasonable arguments for why the PRR is better. I don't really care that much, but I think there are reasonable arguments. I'm not going to fight it to the death, that's for sure. The arrogance of the Pennsylvania Railroad is always their biggest problem. But that's kind of the point. I don't need to rehash it. Can I grab this road, please? Thank you. Can I grab it further away from my cursor so that I can grab the little red line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever. That's... As long as standardization isn't one of the arguments. Okay, I have to ask, though, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? It's genuinely one of the best advantages of the Pennsylvania Railroad. And that's something that I was digging into earlier. Because yes, they weren't the standard railroad of the world when compared to everybody else, but that wasn't a strong point. And that's where I think the whole thing falls apart for people. That's people get caught up in the standard railroad of the world shtick, and they just want to argue against that. And yeah, of course they weren't, but that would have never been a strength for them, even if they were. The most important thing that the Pennsylvania Railroad's standardization did for them, or, the most important thing about the Pennsylvania Railroad standardization is what it did for them. How it let them, replace boilers, how it let them have interchangeable parts and classes that were larger than almost any other railroad in the, you know, larger than almost any other railroad in the United States for most of their major motive power. Can I stop grabbing the wrong one, please? People get fixated on the weird stuff the PRR did later in their life, and they don't consider where the actual strengths were. I realize you left it in here. Maybe the GWR did it better, but that's never an argument I would try to make, because I don't care about the GWR. I feel like it's irrelevant. Uh, can I cop? Can I just like? No, I can't. I'm not gonna try to Control C, Control V. I'm not gonna invite the chaos that brings. Um, my whole point with the Pennsylvania versus New York Central shtick is that I feel like people overlook the Pennsylvania's strengths when it comes down to argument. The strengths that they may not have had at the very end, but the strengths that had brought them to their highest highs during the course of their existence. Highest highs that I would argue are higher than the New York Central's highest highs. My 3 points summarily were that statistically speaking, in all the metrics that matter, the PRR's highest highs were higher than the New York Central's highest highs. And that was number one. Number two was that in the pre-complacency era, you might say, I am measuring anyway, the pre-complacency era of, the last handful of decades of the PRR's existence, you might say, the Pennsylvania Railroad was more apt to innovate in ways that changed the game of railroading. With things like electric signals and automatic air brakes and cab signals, train phones, electrification, that sort of thing. And the third thing was that the Pennsylvania Railroad's standardization, while they may not have been a standard to anyone but themselves, benefited them in a way that basically no other railroad in the US anyway took advantage of, could or tried to. In the end, every railroad fails and shines. Yeah, no, and that's why I don't think there's a such thing as a best railroad. I don't even know if there's such a thing as a better railroad. I just sort of wanted to counter the points that get brought up every damn time about, oh my god, even cough cough Q1 Q2 S1 S2 T1 cough cough. It's like, yeah, they had some experiments. You know who also at the and there are, I think, two sides of this coin. The New York Central also had experiments that didn't all work, and at the same time, they also really didn't try as hard. It feel like not being a standard for yourself is like people who aren't the main character in your own story. I mean, I don't disagree with the sentiment, but I still feel like the Pennsylvania Railroad did more of that than virtually any other railroad stateside. All right, let's go 660 then. The GWR may have done it better. The the Japanese National Railways may have done it better. But I'm not trying to compare them to, oh sorry, it's going to be 7200. I'm not trying to compare them to those examples. It's not the discussion that I'm trying to have. Not the points that I'm trying to refute. The PRR's arrogance and complacency in the last few decades of their existence undercuts almost all of the completely valid points that people should be, that people should be cognizant of if they want to fairly compare the two railroads. And if you don't want to do that, none of that matters. And honestly, why bother? Why would you? What does it gain you? What do you learn? Nothing. So, you know, enjoy the railroads you want at the end of the day. Enjoy the ones you want to enjoy, and let other people enjoy the ones they want to enjoy. The New York Central is a beautiful railroad with amazing pieces of machinery. Yeah, nothing is learned, stale memes were had. Yeah, and that's why. That's what was bugging me. Okay, let me edit in Surveyor 2.0. Let me... Nope, wrong thing. I want to... This, I want to draw it out to... here or so. And then I want to go back to Surveyor Classic. I want to bring this in at a right angle to the main road here. And then I want to bring this in at a right angle to the secondary road here. Hi, Venkman. What can I do for you? Are you hungry? Yeah, he's hungry. He's grim. Okay. You can have my credit card, baby. Okay, so... if I look at... Are we still looking at my screen? No, okay. If we look at maps where these things sort of happen, there are a couple instances... There are fewer instances than I am setting up of roads doing what I'm doing with the curve... with the curved connection. Honestly, this would just sort of terminate here. Because none of that matters. None of that matters. Yeah, let's do that because this area matters a lot less. That to there. And then I want to bring this out another 300 feet, 310 feet. So that's got to be 620 or so. But let's just go 600. Or 610, rather. From here. 610. Oh, there we go. And let's do 610 at the other end here. Although it's got to be sort of like this instead, because of how we have this set up. Okay. Oh, is this going to coincide with this? Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Hey, that works. And then I want to have this come to here. This come to here. Okay. I wasn't sure if Dragon was asking about the meme channel or was asking about me singing "Credit Card Baby" by Wham. Uh, and I was afraid to clarify because no one comes here for my vocal talents. That should be the last thing. My vocal talents are rapidly running out because my throat is hurting more and more. I ran out of water a while ago. Did I? Yeah. Just about. I was in water preservation mode. I'm gonna need a lozenge after this. Or maybe just some honey. But what I'm actually gonna have is some freaking lasagna. You know what? Let's actually string a road from here to here. Is this too uniform? No, let's leave that block empty. And let's delete this. Hi, Venkman. Are you hungry? He sure is. Okay. So anyway, I think we have our roads. I don't want to go further than this because it's already well out of hand, and we will be doing this in 2025. Hmm. That's the thing. It's like, why would there be so little town out here? But I suppose it makes sense in a sense. I mean, the Providence. If I zoom away from Syracuse, the Providence yard was pretty. It was in North Providence. It was pretty far away from everything. So, not that that area wasn't built up by the time that they built that yard, but it's mostly surrounded by cemeteries. So, yeah, I can understand this being kind of far out. Just need to think about it a little bit more. Just need to think about it a little bit more. Let's pull this back just a tear, just a tad. And I want to have some variation. I want to have some rogue roads, some rogue sort of blocks. Because if you go and look at the edges of things, they're not usually just a straight line. You have roads that sort of stick off. I mean, honestly, towns sprawl to the point where they can't sprawl anymore. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to add a little brook in here. I still could. Just in here. If it goes like this. I don't know. I don't think it really makes sense. I just want to fill the space with something that isn't town and house. I want a good reason to end the town here. Even though, all things considered, this would be, I don't know. I would think relatively old, but we've established that the oldest stuff is here and then here. They would have put the mills here. I mean, you need more people to work the mills than you do to work on the railroad. So, maybe it makes sense after all. Or maybe I extend this out much further than it is right now. And I say, yes, connect these with something. Oops. I'm supposed to hold shift. Connect these with something and then connect it into here. But there would be no road there. There would be no real reason to close that loop. Nobody's going from here to here. Or at least no one is really, really struggling to. The only thing that I could see sort of confounding this is getting to the town center here. Now, how would people here get to the town center there? Well, you'd either go out to the main road and then go up, which is probably what you would do, or you'd go this way and come in. Or really what you'd do is hop on a train. But this threefold repetition, I don't know if it's necessarily real. I'm trying to look for examples of a similar thing in real life, and the thing is, some of these places are suburbs that where this kind of thing would be appropriate, but you could always make a hill here. That might do it. Could always make a hill and then pull some unusually shaped suburbs up onto the hill. That's how a lot of these things end in real life. That's what defines the edge. Some sort of conservancy. Do I want to tie this all the way through? I don't know, do I? Because originally I just had it tuck in here. But I could have it tie straight through here at a skew. I'm just trying to answer the last questions that I have before I sign off, and hopefully I see everyone next week. I don't know. Tough questions. I think it'll be alright. You know, at the end of the day, the stuff we build, it doesn't have to be bulletproof. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. It's just as potentially unusual and untamed as the real world that we live in now. I don't like this, though. This doesn't make any sense. I think having a cross street that does this makes sense. $30. I'm just patching the holes. I'll be doing this for a while. That's 27. That's 24. That's 30. I thought it was off in the other direction. I didn't know if I was rushing or dragging. Somebody should have flung a chair at me. And this, right here, this road, I don't like it at all. Are these not... These are parallel to this road, but they're not perpendicular to this one. Because this intersection is not a right angle. It's close, but it's not. This doesn't make any sense. Well, actually it does if you consider that all of these streets are lined up with this. I think we have our town. It's probably the happiest I've been. It's probably the happiest I've been with a road network, even though I keep sitting here and wanting to nitpick it. I keep sitting here and wanting to change things and fit in side streets and extend and whatever. It's just, I can't do that all day. I can't do it forever, as much as I want to. We do have to finish extending this out. We do have to finish a couple of blocks here. But I think right now, the roads we have are the roads we're going to have. The network we have is, to use that word again, a half-decent simulacrum of a town. I don't know. I hope everyone is at least half as happy as it, with it as I am, and is excited to start putting buildings down. Because we're going to start from this end. We're going to start from this end, and we need some shops and things over here, railroad shops, car shops, that sort of thing, for this old railroad here. And once we get that in, then we'll be able to fill in the scenery from here to here, and we'll be able to carry on with everything else. We still need to get our main yard in here for all of the grain stuff. We still need to shift these two around because these are not going to stay like this. And get all the other mills situated. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next week. This is the Admiral.